Look, I know how this is gonna sound. I know people are gonna think I'm lying or making stuff up for attention or whatever, but I swear on my mom's grave that every word I'm about to tell you is the truth. And honestly, I kinda wish it wasn't. My name's Jake, and I grew up in this old farmhouse about 20 minutes outside of Cedar Falls, Iowa. Nothing fancy, just your typical Midwest family trying to make it work. My dad ran a small construction business, my mom worked part-time at the library, and my little sister Emma was the kind of kid who collected bugs and wasn't afraid of anything. Perfect little family, right? Yeah, well, that's what I thought too until I turned 12 and started noticing things. The first time I really saw it was on a Tuesday in October. I remember because it was the day before Halloween, and Emma had been bouncing off the walls about her costume for weeks. She was going to be a witch, complete with this raggedy black dress and a pointed hat that kept falling off her head. Mom had been working on it for days, sewing little stars and moons all over the fabric. I was in the kitchen grabbing a snack after school when I heard Emma talking to someone upstairs. Nothing weird about that. She was always talking to her dolls or making up imaginary friends. But this time, I heard another voice talking back. It was deep, scratchy, like someone who'd been smoking for about 50 years. Definitely not one of her toys, and definitely not mom or dad since they were both still at work. I figured maybe she was watching TV or something, but when I crept upstairs to check on her, her bedroom door was closed and I could hear her having a full conversation with whoever was in there. "But I don't want to eat that," she was saying, and she sounded kind of whiny the way kids do when they're being stubborn. "You have to," came that gravelly voice. "It's good for you. Makes you strong." I pressed my ear to the door, my heart starting to beat a little faster. The voice was coming from right inside her room, but I knew for a fact nobody else was home. Emma had been dropped off by the school bus maybe 10 minutes ago, and I'd been downstairs the whole time. "Can't I have cookies instead?" Emma asked. "After," the voice said. "Cookies are for after. This is for now." I tried the doorknob, but it was locked. Emma never locked her door. Hell, it didn't even have a lock. But when I turned the handle, it wouldn't budge. It was like someone was holding it shut from the inside. "Em," I called out. "You okay in there?" The talking stopped immediately. Complete silence for maybe 30 seconds, then Emma's voice, bright and cheery like nothing had happened. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just playing." "Who were you talking to?" "Nobody. Just my dolls." The door opened then, easy as anything. Emma stood there in her school clothes, smiling up at me like everything was totally normal. I looked past her into the room, but it was empty. Just her bed, her toy chest, and about 1,000,000 stuffed animals scattered around. "I thought I heard someone else," I said. "No." She bounced on her toes. "Just me." But here's the thing, her room smelled weird. Like meat. Raw meat that had been sitting out too long. And there was this dark stain on the carpet near her bed that definitely hadn't been there before. When I asked her about it, she just shrugged and said she'd spilled grape juice earlier. Except we didn't have any grape juice in the house. I probably would have forgotten about the whole thing if it had just been that one time. Kids are weird, you know. They do weird stuff and say weird stuff, and most of the time it doesn't mean anything. But it kept happening. Every few days, I'd hear Emma talking to that same voice. Always when mom and dad weren't around. Always behind a door that suddenly wouldn't open until the conversation was over. And every time, that smell would be there afterward. That gross rotten meat smell that made my stomach turn. The weird part was how normal Emma seemed about it. She'd come downstairs after these talks and be her usual happy self, maybe even happier than usual. She'd help mom with dinner, watch TV with dad, play games with me. Like nothing strange had happened at all. I started paying closer attention to what she was eating. At first, I thought maybe she was sneaking food up to her room, but her regular meals were the same as always. She'd eat her cereal in the morning, her PB&J at lunch, whatever mom made for dinner. Nothing different there. But then I noticed other things. Little things that didn't add up. Like how she never seemed to get sick anymore. Emma used to catch every bug that went around school, colds, stomach flus, you name it. But after those conversations started, she was healthy as a horse. Never even a runny nose. And she was getting stronger. Not like muscle-bound or anything, but she could suddenly carry stuff that used to be too heavy for her. She'd haul her backpack around like it weighed nothing, even though I knew it was packed with textbooks. She could open jars that mom struggled with. Little things, but they added up. The biggest change was in her eyes. Emma had always been a bright kid, but there was something different there now. Something older. Like she was seeing things the rest of us couldn't see. I tried talking to Mom and Dad about it, but they just brushed me off. Emma's growing up, Mom would say. She's getting more independent. Dad would ruffle my hair and tell me I was being a good big brother for looking out for her, but that Emma was fine. They couldn't hear the voice. That became clear pretty quick. A couple times I dragged them upstairs when I heard Emma talking to her friend, but by the time we got to her room, everything was quiet. They'd poke their heads in, see Emma playing with her dolls, and give me this look like I was being dramatic. Maybe you should spend less time worrying about your sister and more time on your homework. Dad said after the third time I'd insisted something was wrong. So I stopped trying to convince them. But I didn't stop paying attention. The thing about living with something weird is that you start to notice patterns. The voice always came in the afternoon, usually between 3 and 5. It never happened when other people were around, if Emma had friends over, or if Mom was home early, nothing. It was like whatever was talking to her could sense when the coast was clear. Emma started asking for weird stuff at the grocery store. Raw hamburger meat, which Mom thought was cute because Emma wanted help with cooking. Liver, which Mom bought even though none of us had ever eaten it before. Fish heads, which Mom laughed off and said no to, but I saw the disappointed look on Emma's face. And the smell in her room was getting worse. Not just that rotten meat smell, but something else underneath it. Something sweet and cloying, like flowers that had been sitting in water too long. Mom kept asking if Emma was hiding food in her room, but every time she looked, there was nothing there. I started having dreams about whatever was talking to Emma. Not clear dreams. I never saw what it looked like or anything like that. But I'd dream about darkness and whispers and the feeling of being watched. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding, with the taste of copper in my mouth. The dreams always featured Emma, but not Emma as she was now. Emma as she might be in a few years or maybe a few decades. Older, but not in a normal way. Like she'd aged into something that wasn't quite human anymore. In the dreams, she'd look at me with those two knowing eyes and smile. "You don't understand yet," she'd say. "But you will. We all will, eventually." I'd wake up and immediately check on her, creeping down the hall to peek into her room. She was always sleeping peacefully, looking like any normal 7-year-old kid. But sometimes, and I know this sounds crazy, sometimes I'd swear I could see a shadow sitting on the edge of her bed, just watching her. Things started escalating around Thanksgiving. Mom's sister Carol was coming to visit with her 2 kids, and Mom was stressed about getting the house ready. She'd been cleaning like crazy, and she kept complaining about the smell in Emma's room. "I don't know what's causing it," she said to Dad while they were doing dishes. "I've washed everything, vacuumed, even scrubbed the walls. But it just keeps getting worse." Dad suggested maybe there was a dead mouse in the walls or something, but Mom shook her head. "It's not that kind of smell. It's organic. Like something's rotting." I was pretending to do homework at the kitchen table, but really I was listening to every word. Mom was finally noticing what I'd been trying to tell her for weeks. "Maybe we should call someone," Dad said. "An exterminator or something." "Maybe." Mom sounded doubtful. "But what if it's nothing? What if Carol thinks we're dirty or something?" They decided to wait until after the visit to do anything about it. Big mistake. Carol and her kids, my cousins Tommy and Sarah, arrived on Wednesday evening. Tommy was about my age. Sarah was a year younger than Emma. They were city kids from Chicago, and they weren't used to the quiet of our little farmhouse. The first night went okay. We had dinner, watched some TV, and everyone went to bed without any drama. But the next morning, Sarah came downstairs looking pale and shaky. "There's something wrong with Emma's room," she told her mom. "Wrong how?" Carol asked, giving Mom a look. "It smells bad, and there's something in there." Emma, who was sitting at the table eating cereal, looked up sharply. "No, there isn't." "Yes, there is," Sarah insisted. "I saw it. It was sitting on your bed, and it was big and dark, and it had too many teeth." The adults all started talking at once. Mom was apologizing and insisting that Sarah must have had a nightmare. Dad was trying to calm everyone down. Carol was looking around the house like she was wondering what kind of place she brought her kids to. But I was watching Emma, and Emma was watching Sarah with a look I'd never seen before. It wasn't angry, exactly. It was more like protective, like someone had threatened something she cared about. "Sarah's lying," Emma said quietly, but everyone heard her. "Emma," Mom scolded. "That's not nice." But she is, Emma said, never taking her eyes off Sarah. There's nothing in my room. Nothing at all. Sarah burst into tears and ran to her mom. Carol picked her up and held her close, shooting Mom a look that could have frozen water. Maybe we should go home early, Carol said. No. Mom protested. Please, I'm sure Sarah just had a bad dream. You know how kids are. They convinced Carol to stay, but the damage was done. The whole rest of the visit was tense and awkward. Sarah wouldn't go anywhere near Emma's room, and she kept giving Emma these scared looks when she thought no one was watching. Tommy pulled me aside that afternoon while the adults were cooking. Dude, your sister's room is seriously messed up, he said. I went in there this morning to grab something, and I swear I saw something moving in the corner. Something big. What did it look like? I asked. I don't know, man. It was like a shadow, but not a normal shadow. It had shape to it, you know. And it was watching me. He shuddered. And the smell in there is insane. Like something died. I wanted to tell him about the voice, about all the weird stuff I'd been noticing. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way Emma had looked at Sarah earlier, or maybe it was just the feeling that talking about it would make it worse somehow. It's probably just mold or something, I said instead. Tommy didn't look convinced, but he didn't push it either. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Sarah and Tommy had said about the shadow in Emma's room. Around 2 a.m, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, careful footsteps, like someone trying not to wake anyone up. I crept to my door and opened it just a crack. Emma was walking down the hall toward the stairs, but she wasn't alone. There was something walking beside her, something tall and dark that seemed to absorb the light around it. I couldn't make out any details. It was like looking at a person-shaped hole in the world. They went downstairs together, and I heard the back door open and close. I waited a few minutes, then snuck downstairs to look out the kitchen window. Emma was standing in the backyard, still in her pajamas, talking to nothing. At least, nothing I could see. But I could hear that voice again, clearer than ever before. Good, it was saying. You did well today. The girl almost saw too much. I told her there was nothing there, Emma said. Just like you taught me. And the boy. Your brother. He's been watching, but he doesn't understand. Not yet. He will. They all will eventually. But for now, it's important that we stay hidden. Can you do that for me? Yes. Emma's voice was small but determined. I can do that. Good girl. Now, are you hungry? Emma nodded, and that's when I saw it. The shadow thing reached out with what might have been an arm, and something fell from it onto the ground. Something that gleamed wetly in the moonlight. Emma picked it up and... I can't describe what I saw next. Let's just say it wasn't the kind of thing a 7-year-old should be doing with raw meat at 2 a.m. But she did it. She did it like it was the most natural thing in the world. I backed away from the window, my hands shaking, my stomach churning. Whatever was out there with Emma, whatever she was talking to and feeding from, it wasn't human. It wasn't anything that should exist. And Emma was changing, had been changing for months. The strength, the lack of sickness, the way she looked at people sometimes, it was all connected to that thing. I stumbled back upstairs and locked my bedroom door, even though I knew locks wouldn't keep that thing out if it wanted to get in. I sat on my bed, knees pulled up to my chest, and tried to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. My little sister was talking to a monster, feeding from a monster, and somehow our parents had no idea. But I knew, and now I had to figure out what to do about it. The problem was, I had no idea who would believe me. And even if someone did, what then? What do you do when the monster isn't hiding under the bed or in the closet? What do you do when the monster is part of the family? After Carol and the kids left the next morning, the house felt different. Quieter, but not in a good way. It was the kind of quiet that made you hold your breath, like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen in the backyard. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma standing there in her pink pajamas, doing things that no kid should ever do. Things that no human should ever do. The image was burned into my brain, and it made my skin crawl. Mom was stressed about how the visit had gone. She kept apologizing to Dad about Sarah's nightmare and worrying that Carol thought we were bad hosts. Dad kept reassuring her that it was fine, that kids have overactive imaginations, but I could tell he was bothered too. Maybe we should have Emma's room checked anyway, he said over breakfast. Just to be safe. Emma looked up from her cereal, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Fear, maybe, or anger. But then she smiled that innocent little kid smile and said, "There's nothing wrong with my room, Daddy." "I know, sweetheart," Dad said, ruffling her hair. "But sometimes old houses have problems we can't see. Mold or mice or stuff like that." "No mice," Emma said firmly. "I would know if there were mice." "Yeah," I thought. "Because whatever's living in your room would probably eat them." Dad ended up calling a guy he knew who did pest control and house inspections. Mr. Henderson was this old dude with a thick mustache who'd been dealing with Iowa farm problems for about 40 years. He showed up that afternoon with a toolbox and some kind of electronic device that was supposed to detect moisture and stuff. I made sure I was around when he checked Emma's room. I wanted to see what he'd find, or if he'd smell what the rest of us had been smelling. Emma stayed downstairs with Mom, but I could tell she was nervous. She kept asking when Mr. Henderson would be done, and whether he really needed to look at everything. "It's just a quick check, honey," Mom said. "Nothing to worry about." But Emma was worried. I could see it in the way she kept glancing toward the stairs, in the way she fidgeted with her hands. She knew something was up there that shouldn't be found. Mr. Henderson spent about an hour going through the room with his equipment. I hung around in the hallway, pretending to read a book but really listening to everything he was doing. He moved furniture around, checked behind a radiator, even pulled up a corner of the carpet. When he came out, he looked confused. "Well," he said to Dad, "I'm not finding any obvious problems. No moisture damage, no pest droppings, no mold that I can detect. But," he paused, scratching his head, "there's definitely an odor in there. Something organic, like you said. And it's stronger near the bed. Any idea what it could be?" Dad asked. "Honestly, I've never smelled anything quite like it. It's almost like, well, this is going to sound weird, but it's like the smell you get in a butcher shop, but mixed with something else. Something sweet and rotten." Mom and Dad exchanged glances. "So what do we do?" Mom asked. "I'd recommend having the carpet professionally cleaned, maybe even replaced if the smell doesn't come out. Sometimes odors can get trapped in the fibers, especially if something was spilled and not cleaned up right away." After Mr. Henderson left, Mom went upstairs to talk to Emma about whether she'd spilled anything in her room. I followed, curious to see how Emma would handle direct questions. "Sweetie," Mom said, sitting on Emma's bed, "Mr. Henderson says there's a smell in your room that might be from something that got spilled. Did you maybe sneak some food up here and forget to tell me?" Emma shook her head. "No, Mommy. I'm not supposed to eat in my room." "I know, but sometimes accidents happen. Or maybe you were playing with something and it made a mess." "No." Emma's voice was getting smaller, but there was something stubborn underneath it. "I didn't spill anything." Mom sighed. "Well, we might need to get new carpet anyway. Would you like to pick out a new color?" Emma's eyes went wide. "No. I like my carpet, but if it smells bad..." "It doesn't smell bad to me," Emma said, and something in her voice made me shiver. "It smells fine. It smells like home." Mom looked at her strangely. "Honey, it really does smell. Everyone who comes in here notices it." "Then maybe they shouldn't come in here," Emma said quietly. The way she said it wasn't bratty or rude. It was matter of fact, like she was just stating an obvious truth. Like her room was somehow off limits to the rest of us. Mom decided to have the carpet cleaned first before replacing it. A crew came out that weekend and spent 3 hours shampooing and steam cleaning every inch of Emma's room. They used industrial-strength cleaning products and brought in fans to dry everything out. For about 2 days, the smell was gone. The room smelled like cleaning chemicals and dampness, but not like that horrible rotten meat stench. I thought maybe whatever had been causing it was finally gone. I should have known better. By Wednesday, the smell was back. Stronger than ever, like whatever was causing it was pissed off about being disturbed. Mom was nearly in tears when she discovered it. "I don't understand," she said to Dad. "They cleaned everything. How is it back already?" Dad was frustrated too. "Maybe there's something in the walls. Or under the floorboards. Should we call someone else? Different company? I don't know. Maybe we should just replace the carpet and see if that helps." But I knew it wouldn't help. The smell wasn't coming from the carpet or the walls or anything normal like that. It was coming from whatever Emma was feeding in there, whatever she was talking to every afternoon when the rest of us weren't around. I started staying home from school more often, faking sick so I could keep an eye on Emma. Mom would go to work, Dad would be out on construction jobs, and Emma would come home from school to an empty house except for me. That's when I started hearing them talking more clearly. I positioned myself in the hallway outside Emma's room, hidden behind the linen closet where I could hear everything. The conversations were always the same basic pattern. Emma would tell it about her day, and it would ask her questions about the family, about who had been asking about her room, about whether anyone was getting suspicious. The cleaning people came, Emma said one afternoon. They put stuff all over the carpet and made it smell funny. Did they find anything? That gravelly voice asked. No. But Jake keeps watching me. He knows something. What does he know? He saw us. Outside. The other night when I was hungry. There was a long pause. Then, that's problematic. What should I do? Nothing yet. But we may need to deal with your brother soon. Deal with me? My blood went cold. What the hell did that mean? I don't want to hurt Jake, Emma said, and she sounded like a normal little kid again. He's nice to me. Hurt him. Oh, child, we're not going to hurt him. We're going to make him understand. Just like we did with you. But he's older. And he's scared. Fear is natural. But it passes. Trust me, I didn't stick around to hear the rest. I crept back to my room and locked the door, my heart hammering in my chest. Whatever that thing was, it was planning something for me. And Emma was just going along with it. I had to tell someone. But who? Mom and Dad wouldn't believe me. They'd think I was having some kind of breakdown or something. The police would laugh me out of the station. Teachers, neighbors, anyone I could think of would just assume I was making it up. But I had to try something. That night at dinner, I decided to test the waters. Hey, I said casually, what you do in your room every day after school? Emma looked up from her mashed potatoes. Play. Play what? Just play. With my toys. I thought I heard you talking to someone yesterday. Emma's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. It sounded like you were having a conversation. I talk to my dolls sometimes, Emma said, but her voice was careful now. That's normal. It didn't sound like doll voices. It sounded like someone else was in there. Mom and Dad were watching this exchange with interest, but not concern. They probably thought I was just being a nosy big brother. There's no one in my room, Emma said. Ever. Then what's that smell? Emma's eyes flashed. What smell? You know what smell? The one that made Mom call the cleaning people. I don't smell anything. Come on, everyone smells it. It's like something died in there. Jake, Dad said warningly. That's enough. But Emma was staring at me now, really staring. And for just a second, I saw something in her eyes that wasn't Emma at all. Something older and hungrier and completely inhuman. Maybe, she said very quietly, you should stay out of my room. Emma. Mom scolded. That's not how we talk to each other. Sorry, Emma said, but she was still looking at me. I just like my privacy. After dinner, I helped Dad with the dishes while Mom got Emma ready for bed. I kept thinking about what I'd seen in Emma's eyes, about the way she looked at me like I was some kind of threat. Dad, I said, do you think Emma's been acting weird lately? Weird how? I don't know. Different. Like she's hiding something. Dad considered this while he scrubbed a plate. She's growing up, Jake. 7-year-olds go through phases. She's probably just asserting her independence. But what about her room? The smell. We'll figure it out. Maybe there's a plumbing issue or something. Old houses are full of surprises. He wasn't taking me seriously. None of them were. They all thought Emma was just being a normal kid, going through normal kid stuff. They couldn't see what I was seeing, couldn't hear what I was hearing. Or maybe they didn't want to see it. That night, I made a decision. I was going to get proof. Real, undeniable proof that something was wrong with Emma. I'd record the conversations, take pictures, whatever I had to do to make someone believe me. I dug out my old digital camera, the one I'd gotten for Christmas a couple years back, and made sure it was charged. I also found a small voice recorder that Dad used for work sometimes. If I could get clear audio of Emma talking to that thing, maybe I could convince someone to take me seriously. The next afternoon, I set up my surveillance operation. I positioned myself in the hallway with both devices, waiting for Emma to come home from school. Mom was at work, Dad was at a job site, and I was supposedly homesick with a stomach bug. Emma came through the front door at 3:30, just like always. She called out to see if anyone was home, and I stayed quiet. I heard her drop her backpack in the kitchen, grab something from the fridge, and then head upstairs. She went straight to her room and closed the door. I gave her a few minutes to get settled, then crept into position outside her door with my camera and recorder. At first, everything was quiet. Then I heard Emma's voice, "I'm home." The response came immediately, "Good. How was school?" "Fine." Tommy Morrison pulled my hair at recess, but I didn't tell. "Good girl. Violence is not the answer. There are better ways to deal with people who hurt us." I started the recorder and raised the camera, hoping to catch something through the keyhole or under the door. But what I saw made my hand shake so badly I almost dropped everything. There was a shadow under the door. Not Emma's shadow. I could see her feet on the other side of the room. This was something else, something big and dark that seemed to move independently of any light source. "Are you hungry?" the voice asked. "Yes," Emma said. "But we don't have any of the good stuff." "I know. But your mother went shopping today. There's ground beef in the refrigerator. The red kind. Raw. Of course. Cooked meat has no power. No life force. But what if someone sees me? Your brother is upstairs, but he's not paying attention. Your parents won't be home for hours. Go now." I heard Emma's footsteps moving toward the door, and I scrambled to get out of the way. I made it to the linen closet just as her door opened. Emma walked out of her room, but she wasn't alone. That shadow thing was with her, flowing along beside her like spilled ink. I could see it clearly now. It was vaguely human-shaped, but wrong in every possible way. Too tall, too thin, with what might have been arms that reached down to the floor. They went downstairs together, and I heard the refrigerator open. Then sounds I don't want to describe. What sounds? Eating sounds. I waited until they came back upstairs, then gave them a few more minutes before I crept back to my position. The conversation was different now. Emma sounded satisfied. "Content. Better?" the voice asked. "Much better. Thank you." "You're welcome, child. Now, we need to discuss your brother. My blood froze. He's becoming a problem. He's seen too much, heard too much. Soon he'll try to tell others about us. What do you want me to do?" "Invite him in tonight. Tell him you want to show him something special, something secret, and then we'll make him understand. We'll make him part of our family, just like you." I didn't wait to hear more. I grabbed my equipment and got the hell out of there, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. They were planning something for tonight, something that would make me part of the family. I had to get out of the house. I had to find someone who would believe me, someone who could help. But first, I needed to check the recording, make sure I'd actually captured something. I went to my room and plugged the recorder into my computer. The audio was clear, crystal clear. Emma's voice asking about being hungry. The other voice telling her to go get the raw meat. But that's all there was. Just Emma's voice talking to herself. The thing's voice wasn't on the recording. It was like it had never existed at all. I checked the camera next, scrolling through the photos I'd taken. There was the hallway. There was the door. There was Emma coming out of her room. But no shadow. No dark thing walking beside her. In the photos, she was completely alone. I sat there staring at the screen, my hand shaking. I'd heard it. I'd seen it. But somehow, none of my equipment had picked it up. How is that possible? Unless it wasn't meant for other people to see. Unless it only existed for Emma, and for anyone it wanted to make part of the family. A knock on my door made me jump. "Jake." Emma's voice, sweet and innocent. "Can I come in? I'm sick. You probably shouldn't. Please? I want to show you something. Something really cool." This was it. This was what they'd been planning. Emma was going to invite me in, and then that thing was going to do to me whatever it had done to her. "Maybe later," I said. "I don't feel good. It'll just take a minute. I promise." I looked around my room, trying to figure out what to do. I could climb out the window, but then what? Where would I go? Who would believe me without proof? "Jake." Emma's voice was getting insistent. "Please open the door." I said I'm sick. "No, you're not. You're scared. But you don't need to be scared. It's going to be okay." The doorknob turned. I locked it, but the lock was turning anyway, just like it had on Emma's door that first day. Emma stepped into my room, and she wasn't alone. The shadow thing was right behind her, taller than ever, filling the doorway like spilled darkness. "Don't run," Emma said gently. "There's nowhere to go anyway." The shadow moved forward, and I finally saw what it really was. What it had always been. And I understood why Emma had stopped being afraid of anything. Because once you've seen what's really hiding in the dark, everything else seems pretty manageable. I like to tell you that I was brave in that moment. That I stood up to the thing in my doorway and fought for my family or whatever. But the truth is, I just froze. My legs went weak, my mouth went dry, and I couldn't do anything except stare at what was standing behind my little sister. It wasn't really a shadow, that had just been my brain trying to make sense of something it couldn't understand. It was more like absence. Like someone had cut a person-shaped hole in reality and filled it with hunger. It had mass and presence, but no real substance. And it was old. So old that looking at it made my teeth ache. "This is my friend," Emma said, like she was introducing me to someone from school. "He's been taking care of me." "Taking care of you?" I managed to croak. "Huh? He makes sure I'm strong and healthy and safe. And now he wants to take care of you too." The thing moved closer, and I could smell it now. That same rotten meat smell that had been plaguing Emma's room, but stronger. Much stronger. It was the smell of things that had died a long time ago, but refused to stay dead. "Don't be afraid," it said, and its voice was like gravel in a blender. "Fear makes the process more difficult." "What process?" I backed up against my desk, knocking over a lamp. "The joining," Emma said helpfully. "It doesn't hurt much." "Emma, this isn't right. This thing isn't your friend. It's..." I struggled for words. "It's something bad." Emma's face scrunched up in confusion. "Bad? But he's been taking care of me. He makes me strong. He feeds me." "Feeds you what?" "Life," the thing said before Emma could answer. "Essence. The spark that makes meat more than just meat. Your sister has been thriving under my care." And that's when I finally understood what had been happening. The raw meat, the increased strength, the way Emma never got sick anymore. This thing had been feeding her something, and in return, she'd been feeding it something else. "What do you want from her?" I asked. "Companionship, loyalty, and eventually service. Your sister has a gift. She can see me clearly, speak to me freely. Not everyone can do that. But you can too, can't you? You've been watching, listening. You have the sight, the ability to perceive what others cannot. It runs in families sometimes. Your sister inherited it from your mother's side, though your mother lost it years ago. Most adults do. They convince themselves that what they're seeing isn't real, and eventually, they stop seeing it at all." I thought about Mom, about how she'd stop noticing the smell in Emma's room after a while, about how she'd brush off my concerns with explanations about imagination and growing up. "But you're still young enough," the thing continued. "Still open enough. You could learn to see me as clearly as your sister does. And in time, you could serve me as faithfully as she will." "Serve you how?" Emma beamed like she was about to tell me about her favorite toy. "He helps families. When people are sick or hurt or dying, he fixes them. Like he fixed me. Fixed you." "Emma, you were never sick." "Yes, I was," she said, and for the first time, she sounded upset. "I was born sick. Really sick. I was going to die when I was little, but he saved me." I stared at her. "What are you talking about?" The thing moved closer, and I could feel the temperature in the room drop. "Your sister was born with a congenital heart defect. The doctor said she wouldn't live to see her first birthday. Your parents were distraught." "That's not true. Emma's always been healthy." "No," the thing said patiently. "Emma has been healthy since I began caring for her. Before that, she was dying. Your parents were desperate. They would have done anything to save her. They would have told me." "What the?" "You were 5 years old. What would have been the point of frightening you with something you couldn't understand?" I tried to remember Emma as a baby, but the memories were fuzzy. I'd been so young. But now that I thought about it, there had been a lot of doctor visits. A lot of hushed conversations between Mom and Dad. A lot of nights when Mom cried and Dad held her. "Your father found me," the thing continued. "Not deliberately. I don't think he even knew what he was looking for. But he was praying desperately for someone or something to help his daughter." And I answered, "You're lying." "Emma?" "Ask your parents about Emma's first year of life. Ask them about the surgery that was scheduled for her 6-month birthday. Ask them why that surgery was suddenly canceled." Emma was nodding along with everything the thing said. "Daddy cried a lot when I was little, but then he stopped crying and I got better. Because of this thing, Because of my friend. He made me strong. He made me better. And now he wants to make you better too. I'm not sick. No, the thing agreed. But you're afraid. You're confused. You're carrying knowledge that no one else will believe. Isn't that its own kind of sickness? I wanted to argue, but honestly, it wasn't wrong. I've been going crazy trying to figure out what was happening to Emma, trying to find someone who would believe me. The isolation was eating me alive. I can take that burden from you, the thing said. I can make you understand. And in return, you can help me help others. Help you how? By finding them. The sick ones. The desperate ones. The ones who need what I can provide. Your sister is still young. She can't travel far or identify the truly needy. But you could. You could be my eyes and ears in the world. And if I say no, the thing was quiet for a long moment. Then it said, why would you say no? I'm offering you strength, health, purpose. I'm offering to make you part of something important. What you're offering is evil. Evil. The thing sounded genuinely puzzled. I save lives. I heal the sick. I give hope to the hopeless. How is that evil? Because there's always a price, isn't there? What you want in return. Loyalty. Service. And occasionally, it paused. Sustenance. Sustenance. Emma piped up, he gets hungry sometimes. But it's okay, he only eats bad people. People who hurt kids or animals or stuff like that. My blood went cold. He eats people. Only the bad ones. Emma insisted. Like that man who was mean to me at the park last month. Remember? He yelled at me for no reason and called me a brat. I did remember. Some guy had gotten mad at Emma for accidentally bumping into him, and he'd been really nasty about it. Dad had wanted to confront him, but Mom had talked him out of it. What happened to him? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. He got sick, Emma said cheerfully. Really sick. And then he got better. Sort of. He's still alive, the thing said. But he's different now. Calmer. More considerate. He volunteers at the animal shelter these days, actually. Amazing what a near-death experience can do for someone's perspective. You're saying you ate part of him? I consumed his capacity for cruelty. His anger. His tendency toward violence. I left everything else intact. He's actually a much better person now. That's not your choice to make, isn't it? If I can't remove the darkness from someone's soul, shouldn't I? If I can make them better, kinder, more compassionate, isn't that a service to everyone? I wanted to argue, but part of me was starting to see its point. If this thing could really remove the evil from people, make them better, wasn't that kind of like what doctors did? Cut out the bad parts and leave the good. I can see you're beginning to understand, the thing said. It's not evil, Jake. It's medicine. Surgery for the soul. But Emma. I looked at my sister, who was watching our conversation with bright, interested eyes. What did you do to Emma? I saved her life. And in return, she helps me find others who need saving. It's a fair exchange. She's 7 years old. She's 7 years old and alive when she should have died before her first birthday. Would you rather she were dead and innocent or alive and useful? I didn't have an answer for that. If Emma had really been dying, if this thing had really saved her, then maybe my parents had made the right choice. Maybe I would have made the same choice. But there was still something that bothered me. If you're so good, why do you hide? Why all the secrecy? Because people fear what they don't understand. If I revealed myself openly, there would be panic. Churches would call me a demon. Scientists would want to study me. Governments would want to control me. The secrecy isn't for my benefit, it's for yours. And what about the families? The people you help? Do they know what they're getting into? The thing was quiet for a moment. They know enough. They know their loved one will live. They know there will be obligations. But they make the choice freely. Do they? Or do you wait until they're desperate enough to agree to anything? Desperation clarifies priorities, the thing said. When someone is facing the loss of everything they care about, they become very clear about what really matters. Emma tugged on my sleeve. Jake, you should say yes. It's really good. I'm stronger now, and I never get sick, and I can help people. And you could help too. We could be a team. I looked down at her, this little kid who'd been turned into some kind of supernatural social worker. She seemed genuinely happy about it, genuinely excited about the prospect of helping others. But she was also 7 years old. She didn't understand what she'd gotten into, what she'd been made part of. What happens if I say no? I asked again. Then you'll forget, the thing said simply. I'll take this conversation from your memory. You'll go back to thinking Emma is just a normal little girl with an overactive imagination. You'll stop worrying about the smell in her room. You'll stop trying to spy on us. That's it. You'll just erase my memories. The relevant ones, yes. It's painless. You won't even know it happened. And Emma will continue as she has been. Healthy, strong, helpful. She'll grow up to be a remarkable young woman. She'll help many people over the course of her life. But she'll never be normal. Normal is overrated, Emma said. Normal kids get sick and sad and scared. I don't get any of those things. Don't you miss it sometimes? Being just a regular kid, Emma thought about this seriously. Sometimes I think about it, but then I remember how good it feels to help people, and how strong I am, and how I never have to worry about getting hurt or sick or anything bad happening to me. What about when you grow up? What happens then? Then I'll keep helping, Emma said simply. I'll find more people who need to be fixed, and my friend will fix them. And maybe some of them will want help too. And we'll all be like a big family. A family of people bound to this thing, I thought. A family of servants who thought they were doing good while they helped a predator find new victims. But then I thought about Emma as a baby, supposedly dying of a heart condition. I thought about my parents, desperate to save their daughter. I thought about the guy at the park who used to be cruel to kids and now worked at an animal shelter. Maybe it wasn't that simple. Maybe this thing really was trying to help in its own twisted way. Maybe the world really was better with fewer cruel people in it. I need to think about this, I said finally. Of course, the thing said, take all the time you need. But remember, the longer you wait, the more difficult it becomes. The adult mind is less flexible than the child's mind. What's that supposed to mean? It means that if you're going to join us, it's better to do it sooner rather than later. The process is easier when you're young. Emma nodded enthusiastically. It barely hurt at all. And I was just a baby. You remember it, some of it. I remember being really tired, and then I remember feeling better. Like when you're sick and then you're not sick anymore. The thing moved closer to me, and I could feel its presence like a weight on my chest. You have until tomorrow night to decide. After that, I'll remove your memories and we'll continue as we have been. Emma will be sad to lose a potential ally, but she'll understand. And if I agree, then you'll become part of something important. Something that makes the world a little bit better, one person at a time. I want to talk to my parents first. That's not possible. Why not? Because they've already forgotten. When they made their deal with me, part of the agreement was that their memories of Emma's illness would be adjusted. They remember her being a healthy baby. They remember being happy and grateful and blessed. They don't remember the fear or the desperation or the choice they made. So they don't know what you are. They know Emma is special. They know she's been blessed with good health and unusual strength. But they don't question it too closely. It's easier that way. For who? For everyone. Would you want to spend your life remembering that your child almost died? Would you want to live with the knowledge that you made a deal with something beyond your understanding to save her? I thought about my parents, about how they've been acting around Emma. They were proud of her, protective of her, but there was also something else. Something that looked almost like fear. Not fear of Emma herself, but fear of losing her. Fear of questioning too closely how healthy and strong she'd become. They know, I said suddenly. Somewhere deep down, they know what you are. They just don't let themselves think about it. Perhaps. But that's their choice. I offer them the same option I'm offering you, knowledge and service, or ignorance and peace. They chose ignorance. And you think I should choose service? I think you should choose what will make you happy. What will give your life meaning? What will help the most people? Emma was looking up at me with those big, trusting eyes. Please, Jake. It would be so cool if we could work together. And you'd never have to worry about getting sick or hurt or anything. And we could help so many people. I looked at her, then at the thing hovering behind her, then back at her. She really did seem happy, healthy, strong. And if she really had been dying as a baby, I need to think about it, I said again. Of course. But remember, tomorrow night. After that, the opportunity won't be available again. They turned to leave, but Emma paused at the door. Jake, even if you say no, I'm still gonna love you. You're still my big brother. I love you too. Good. Because no matter what happens, we're still family. And family takes care of each other. After they left, I sat on my bed and tried to process everything I just learned. Emma had been sick as a baby. My parents had made some kind of deal to save her. Now she was bound to this thing, helping it find people to fix. And I had less than 24 hours to decide whether to join them or have my memories erased. The crazy thing was, I was actually considering it. If this thing really could make me stronger, healthier, more useful, if it really was helping people. But then I thought about the guy at the park. Sure, he was nicer now, but he'd been changed without his consent. His personality had been altered by something that had literally eaten parts of his soul. Was that really helping? Or was it just a different kind of murder? And what about the families who made deals with this thing? Did they really choose freely, or were they manipulated by desperation and fear? I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore. But I knew I had to decide. So, and whatever I chose, there would be no going back. Part 4, the choice. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that thing hovering behind Emma, all shadow and hunger and impossible angles. I kept thinking about what it had said, that I had until tomorrow night to decide. Join them or forget everything. The house felt different now that I knew the truth. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind through the windows, every normal sound seemed loaded with meaning. I kept expecting to hear Emma's door open, to hear her padding down the hallway, to have another conversation with her friend, but everything was quiet. Even the smell in Emma's room seemed fainter, like the thing was trying to lay low while I made my decision. I got up around dawn and crept downstairs to the kitchen. Mom was already there, making coffee and humming quietly to herself. She looked up when I walked in and smiled. "You're up early," she said. "Feeling better?" "Yeah, I guess." I watched her face carefully, looking for any sign that she remembered what I'd been told, any hint that she knew what had really happened when Emma was a baby. But there was nothing, just normal mom concern and morning routine. "That's good. I was starting to worry about you. You've been so stressed lately. Maybe you should talk to someone about it. Talk to someone, a counselor or something. Sometimes it helps to have someone outside the family to talk to when you're feeling overwhelmed." The irony wasn't lost on me. She was suggesting I talk to a stranger about my problems, when the real problem was literally living in our house and she couldn't even see it. "Mom," I said carefully, "do you remember Emma being sick when she was little?" Mom's hand paused halfway to her coffee mug. For just a second, something flickered across her face, confusion, maybe, or fear. But then she shook her head. "Sick? No, Emma was a perfectly healthy baby." "Why would you ask that?" I thought I remembered something. Doctor visits or something." "Well, sure, she had her regular checkups. All babies do. But she was never sick. We were very lucky." She took a sip of coffee. "Why are you thinking about that?" "Just curious, I guess." But I could see something in her eyes now. A kind of careful blankness, like she was working hard not to think about something. The thing had been right. Somewhere deep down she knew. She just couldn't let herself remember. Emma came downstairs a few minutes later, already dressed for school. She looked completely normal, just a regular 7-year-old getting ready for another day of second grade. She kissed Mom on the cheek, grabbed a piece of toast, and started chattering about some project she was working on. "We're making dioramas about animal habitats," she said. "I picked the deep ocean because it's dark and mysterious, and most people don't know what's down there." "That sounds fascinating, sweetheart," Mom said. Emma looked at me over her toast. "Did you know that most of the deep ocean is completely unexplored? There could be all kinds of creatures down there that we've never seen before." "Yeah," I said. "I bet there are. Some of them are probably really helpful. Like they might clean up pollution or eat harmful bacteria or something. But people would be scared of them because they look different." Mom wasn't really listening. She was packing Emma's lunch and getting ready for work. But I heard every word. Emma was talking about the thing, describing it in terms that made it sound beneficial and misunderstood. "People are always afraid of things they don't understand," I said. "Exactly," Emma beamed. "But that doesn't mean those things are bad. Sometimes they're actually really good. They just need people to give them a chance." After Mom left for work and Emma left for school, I had the house to myself. I spent the morning going through old photo albums, looking for any evidence of what the thing had told me. Pictures of Emma as a baby, hospital visits, anything that might confirm or deny its story. What I found was weird. There were lots of pictures of Emma as a newborn, but then there was this gap. From about 2 months old to 6 months old, there were hardly any pictures at all. Just a few here and there, and in most of them, Emma looked different, smaller, paler, like she was sick. But then starting around 6 months, the pictures picked up again. And Emma looked healthy. More than healthy, she looked vibrant, strong, like she was glowing from the inside. I found a hospital bracelet in one of the albums, tiny and plastic. Baby girl Morrison. It said with a date from when Emma was about 4 months old. But there was no explanation for why she'd been in the hospital. I tried asking Dad about it when he came home for lunch, but he gave me the same blank look Mom had. Hospital? No, Emma was never in the hospital as a baby. Where did you find that bracelet? In the photo album. Dad frowned. That's weird. Maybe it's from when she was born? Sometimes they give you extra ones, but I could see the same careful blankness in his eyes. The same deliberate not remembering. The thing hadn't been lying. Emma had been sick, possibly dying, and my parents had made some kind of deal to save her. Now they couldn't even remember what they'd sacrificed. I spent the afternoon researching everything I could find about deals with supernatural entities. Most of it was religious stuff, demons and devils and Faustian bargains. But there were other stories too. Older stories. Things that lived in the spaces between the world, things that offered help for a price. Most of the stories ended badly. The people who made deals usually got what they asked for, but they lost something else in the process. Their souls, their humanity, their free will. But this felt different. Emma seemed genuinely happy. She was healthy and strong and good. She wanted to help people. If that was the price of her life, was it really so terrible? I kept going back and forth, trying to figure out what was right. On one hand, the thing had saved my sister's life. On the other hand, it had turned her into some kind of supernatural social worker without her consent. She was 7 years old. She couldn't possibly understand what she'd gotten into. But then again, she would have been dead without its intervention. Dead at less than a year old. Was it better to be alive and bound to something strange, or dead and free? Emma came home from school around 3:30, just like always. She found me in the living room, surrounded by books and printouts from my research. "What you reading?" she asked, plopping down next to me on the couch. "Just stuff. About supernatural beings and deals and things like that." Emma nodded seriously. "Find anything interesting?" "Maybe. Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you ever wish you were just a normal kid? Like, without any of this weird stuff?" Emma considered this, twisting a strand of hair around her finger. "Sometimes I think about it, but then I remember that normal kids get hurt and sick and scared, and they can't help people the way I can. But you're missing out on so much. Normal kid stuff. Friends, sleepovers, just being a kid." "I have friends," Emma said. "They're just different from other people's friends." "You mean the thing upstairs?" "He's not a thing. He has a name." This was the first time she'd mentioned that. "What's his name?" "I can't tell you. Not unless you join us. Names have power." "Emma, do you remember being sick when you were little?" Emma's expression grew distant. "Sort of. I remember being really tired all the time. And cold. And there was this beeping sound that never stopped. And Mommy cried a lot." "Do you remember getting better?" "I remember him coming. He was scary at first, but then he explained that he wanted to help. He said Mommy and Daddy were very sad and that he could make them happy again. And you agreed to let him help." "I was just a baby. I didn't really understand. But I knew Mommy was sad, and I didn't want her to be sad anymore." "So you didn't really choose this?" Emma looked at me with those two old eyes. "Does it matter? I'm alive. I'm healthy. I'm useful. Would you rather I was dead?" "Of course not. But then why does it matter how I got here? I'm here. I'm happy. I'm helping people. Isn't that what matters?" Before I could answer, I heard the front door open. Mom was home early from work. "Hi, kids," she called out. "How was school, Emma?" "Good." Emma jumped up to go greet her. "We learned about food chains today. Did you know that even the biggest predators have a purpose in the ecosystem? They keep everything balanced." "That's fascinating, sweetheart." I watched them hug, watched Mom ruffle Emma's hair, and ask about her day. Mom looked so normal, so happy. She had no idea what her daughter had become, what lived in our house, what deals she'd made years ago. Maybe that was better. Maybe ignorance really was bliss. But I couldn't unknow what I knew, and I had to decide what to do about it. After dinner, I went up to my room and tried to think. I made a mental list of pros and cons, but it didn't help. Every argument I could think of for joining them was balanced by an equally strong argument against it. Pro, I'd be strong and healthy and never get sick. Con, I'd be bound to something inhuman for the rest of my life. Pro, I could help people. Con, I'd be helping a predator find victims. Pro, Emma and I could work together. Con, I'd be encouraging her continued involvement in something dangerous. Around 10 o'clock, I heard a soft knock on my door. I knew it was Emma before I opened it. "Hi," she said. "Can we talk?" "Sure. Come in." She sat on my bed, looking smaller than usual in her pink pajamas. "Have you decided yet?" "Not yet. I'm still thinking." "What are you thinking about?" I sat down next to her. "I'm thinking about what's right and what's wrong, and whether I can live with either choice." "It's not that complicated," Emma said. "Do you want to help people or not? It's not that simple, Em. What if helping people means doing bad things? What if the cure is worse than the disease? But it's not. Look at me. Am I worse than dead? No, but... And look at that man from the park. He's nicer now. He helps animals. Isn't that better than how he was before? Maybe. But he didn't choose to be changed. Something else made that choice for him." Emma frowned. "So, sometimes people make bad choices. Sometimes they need help making better ones. But who decides what's better? Who decides what needs to be changed? Someone who knows. Someone who's been around long enough to understand how people work." "Emma, you're 7 years old. You can't possibly understand what you're part of." "I understand enough. I understand that I'm alive when I should be dead. I understand that I can help people who are hurting. I understand that the world is a little bit better because of what we do. And what about the people who get hurt? The ones who get consumed? They don't get hurt. They get better. They get fixed. Against their will. Sometimes people need to be fixed whether they want to be or not. Like when you're sick and you have to take medicine that tastes bad. It's not fun, but it's necessary." I stared at her. She really believed what she was saying. To her, what they were doing was a form of medicine, a way of healing the world one person at a time. "What if I say no?" I asked. "Then you'll forget, and things will go back to how they were before. You'll stop worrying about me. You'll stop trying to figure out what's wrong. You'll just be my normal big brother. And you'll keep doing what you're doing?" "Yes. But I'll be sad that you can't be part of it." "What if I say yes?" Emma's face lit up. "Then tomorrow night, he'll change you. It doesn't hurt much, and afterward, you'll be like me. Strong and unhealthy and useful. And bound to serve him. It's not serving. It's partnering. We're all working together to make things better. For how long? Forever, I guess. But that's not scary. It's exciting. We'll always have purpose, always have something important to do. Forever." The word hit me like a physical blow. Forever bound to something inhuman. Forever helping it find people to fix. Forever pretending that violation and predation were actually healing. But the alternative was forgetting. Going back to ignorance. Letting Emma continue down this path without any family member who truly understood what she was. "I need to think about it more," I said. "Okay. But Jake..." Emma reached over and took my hand. "Whatever you decide, I love you. And I want you to be happy. I love you too." After she left, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I kept thinking about what she'd said, that I'd be her normal big brother if I chose to forget. But would I really? Or would I always have this nagging feeling that something was wrong, something I couldn't quite remember? And what about Emma? If I forgot, who would watch out for her? Who would make sure she didn't get in too deep, didn't lose herself completely to whatever was living in our house? Around midnight, I made my decision. I got up and walked to Emma's room. The door was closed, but I could hear voices inside, Emma and her friend having their nightly conversation. Getting stronger every day, the thing was saying. "Soon you'll be ready for more advanced work." "What kind of work?" Emma asked. "Traveling. Finding the ones who need help in other places. Your range has been limited to this town, but there are so many others who could benefit from our assistance. Like a road trip? Something like that. You be my ambassador, my voice in the world. People trust children more than adults. They're more willing to open their hearts to someone small and innocent. I knocked on the door. The conversation stopped immediately. "Come in," Emma called. I opened the door. Emma was sitting on her bed, and the thing was there. Clearer than I'd ever seen it before, more solid somehow. It looked almost human, if you didn't look too closely at the proportions or the way shadows bent around it. "I've made my decision," I said. Both of them looked at me expectantly. "I want to remember," I said. "I want to know what's really happening in this house, what happened to Emma, what my parents did. I can't live with forgetting." "But you don't want to join us," the thing said. It wasn't a question. "No, I can't be part of this. I can't help you find people to change." Emma's face fell. "Jake, no. Please. It would be so much better if we were together. I know you think so, Em, but I can't. I'm sorry." The thing was silent for a long moment. Then it said, "That's not one of the options." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you can join us willingly, or you can forget. Those are the only choices available." "Why?" "Because you know too much. Because you've seen too much. Because you're a threat to everything we've built here." I felt a chill run down my spine. "A threat? How?" "You could tell people. You could try to convince your parents to leave. You could contact authorities, researchers, anyone who might interfere with our work." "I wouldn't do that." "You say that now. But what about next week? Next month? Next year? What happens when you get older and your sense of morality becomes more rigid? What happens when you decide that what we're doing is wrong?" I don't know." "Exactly. You don't know. And I can't take that risk." Emma was looking back and forth between us, her eyes wide with worry. "Can't we just make him promise not to tell anyone?" "Promises can be broken, child. Memory modification is permanent. But if you take his memories, he won't be able to protect me anymore. He won't understand what I'm going through. You don't need protection. You have me. That's not the same thing." Emma's voice was getting louder, more upset. "Jake is my brother. I want him to know who I really am. And I want that too, I said. "But I can't be part of what you're doing. I can't help you find people to hurt. We don't hurt people." Emma insisted. "We help them. You change them without their consent. You eat parts of their souls. How is that helping? Because they're better afterward. Because they're kinder and more compassionate and less likely to hurt others. But they're not themselves anymore. They're what you've made them into. So what? If what they were was cruel and harmful, isn't it better that they're different now?" I looked at my little sister, at her earnest face and her two old eyes, and I realized something that broke my heart. She really believed what she was saying. To her, what they were doing was genuinely good. She'd been changed so young, shaped so completely by this thing's influence, that she couldn't see the horror in it. "Emma," I said gently, "what if someone decided you needed to be changed? What if they thought you were wrong somehow, and they wanted to fix you?" "But I'm not wrong. I'm helping people." "But what if they didn't see it that way? What if they thought you were dangerous or harmful, and they wanted to change you to make you more normal?" Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That would be different." "How?" "Because I'm not hurting anyone. I'm helping. And the people you help change, don't they think they're helping too? Don't they think they're doing the right thing? But they're not. They're mean and cruel, and they hurt people. Sometimes, maybe. But what about the ones who are just different? What about the ones who aren't cruel, just misunderstood?" Emma looked confused. "We only change the bad ones. Who decide who's bad?" She looked at the thing hovering beside her bed. "He does. He knows." "How does he know?" "Because he's been around for a long time. Because he understands people better than they understand themselves." I turned to the thing. "Is that true? Do you really only target people who are genuinely harmful?" "Define harmful," it said. "Don't play word games with me. Do you only change people who are actually dangerous to others?" "I change people who need changing. People whose thoughts and actions create suffering for others." "That's not the same thing, isn't it? If someone's behavior causes pain, isn't that harm? What about someone who's just rude, or selfish, or inconsiderate? Are those crimes worth having your personality forcibly altered? If those traits lead to suffering, then yes. Who's suffering? And how much? And who decides when a line has been crossed?" The thing was getting annoyed. I could feel its presence pressing against my mind, trying to make me stop asking questions. I decide, it said finally. I have the wisdom and experience to make these determinations. Humans are too emotional, too biased, too limited in their perspective. And you're not. I'm not human. I'm not subject to the same weaknesses and blind spots that plague your species. But you're subject to your own weaknesses and blind spots. You're a predator. You see everything in terms of prey and consumption. You've convinced yourself that what you're doing is healing, but really you're just feeding. That's enough, the thing said, and suddenly I couldn't speak. My voice was gone, my throat sealed shut. Emma looked alarmed. Let him talk. He's said enough. More than enough. He's made his position clear. But he's my brother. I want to hear what he has to say. What he has to say is dangerous. He's trying to poison your mind against me, against our work. He's trying to make you doubt yourself. Maybe I should doubt myself, Emma said, and for the first time she sounded like a normal 7-year-old instead of a supernatural agent. Maybe I should ask questions and think about stuff instead of just doing what you tell me to do. The thing's presence grew darker, more oppressive. You are a child. You don't have the experience or wisdom to make these decisions. That's why you need guidance. Guidance isn't the same as control. It is when the child is too young to understand the consequences of her choices. I'm not too young. I'm 7. I can think for myself. Can you? Then think about this. Without me, you would be dead. Without me, your parents would be grieving and broken. Without me, you would never have the chance to help anyone, to make any difference in the world. Emma was crying now, tears streaming down her face. That's not fair. You can't use that to make me do whatever you want. I'm not making you do anything. I'm simply reminding you of the reality of your situation. The reality is that I never had a choice. I was just a baby. I couldn't agree to anything. Your parents made the choice for you. They chose your life over your freedom. Was that wrong? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what I would have chosen if I'd been old enough to choose. The thing was quiet for a moment. Then it said, "Would you like to find out?" What do you mean? I could reverse the process. I could take back what I gave you. You would return to your original state, sick, dying, but free to make your own choices. Emma's face went white. You mean I die? Eventually. Yes. But you die free. That's not a choice. That's just murder. No more than what I did to save you was murder. I'm simply offering to undo what was done. Emma looked at me, her eyes wide with terror. My voice was still gone, but I reached out and took her hand. I don't want to die, she whispered. I don't want to be free if it means dying. Then you understand why your parents made the choice they did, and why you must continue to serve. But what if there's another way? What if I could live without having to do what you say? There is no other way. The binding is permanent. You are what you are because of what I made you. Without me, you cannot survive. But Jake doesn't have to forget, right? He could remember and just not be part of it. No, he knows too much. He's seen too much. He's a threat. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What if I asked you to let him go? As a favor to me. I don't do favors, but I've been good. I've done everything you asked. I've helped all those people. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for your continued existence. Nothing more. That's not fair. Fairness is a human concept. It has no meaning in the real world." Emma let go of my hand and stood up. For a moment, she looked like any normal kid, small, scared, overwhelmed by forces beyond her control. Then she straightened her shoulders and looked the thing directly in whatever it had for eyes. "I want to make a deal," she said. "What kind of deal?" "Let Jake keep his memories. Let him go. And in return, I'll do whatever you want. I'll help you find more people to change. I'll travel with you. I'll be your perfect little agent. You're already my perfect little agent." "No, I'm not. I ask questions. I hesitate. I feel bad about some of the things we do. But if you let Jake go, I'll stop all that. I'll be exactly what you want me to be." The thing considered this. "You would give up your free will entirely, if that's what it takes to protect my brother?" "Emma, no," I tried to say, but no sound came out. "And you would do this willingly? Without coercion?" "Yes. Even knowing that you would cease to be yourself, that you would become nothing more than an extension of my will." Yes. The thing was silent for a long time. Then it said, "Very well. I accept your terms." No. I finally managed to croak out, "Emma, don't do this. I have to, Jake. I have to protect you. Not like this. Not by sacrificing yourself. I'm not sacrificing myself. I'm just changing." Again. "Emma, please. There has to be another way." There isn't. And you know it. She was right. I did know it. The thing had backed us into a corner, and this was the only way out that didn't involve me either joining them or forgetting everything. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm sorry I couldn't figure out a better solution. It's okay. This is my choice. My real choice." She turned back to the thing. "Do it. Very well. But first, your brother must leave. This process is not meant for outsiders to witness. Will I see him again? After. You will see him, but you will not be you. Do you understand?" "I understand." Emma came over and hugged me. "I love you, Jake. Remember that, okay? No matter what happens, no matter what I become, remember that I love you. I love you too. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be happy. Be normal. Live a good life. What about you?" "I'll be fine. I'll be useful. I'll help people." That's enough. I wanted to argue, to fight, to do something to stop this. But I knew there was no point. Emma had made her choice, and it was the only choice that would save both of us. "Go," she said gently. "Don't look back." I walked to the door, then turned around one last time. Emma was standing in the middle of her room, looking smaller than ever. The thing was moving closer to her, its darkness beginning to envelop her. "Goodbye, Emma," I said. "Goodbye, Jake." I closed the door and walked back to my room. I sat on my bed and waited. About an hour later, I heard Emma's door open. I heard footsteps in the hallway, but they sounded different, more purposeful, more adult. There was a soft knock on my door. "Come in," I said. Emma entered, but she wasn't Emma anymore. She looked the same physically, but everything else was different. The way she moved, the way she held herself, the expression on her face, it was all wrong. "Hello, Jake," she said, and her voice was calm and controlled. "I wanted to let you know that the process is complete." Emma is still here, but she's different now. She's at peace. She's accepted her role. "What did you do to her?" "I gave her what she asked for. I removed her doubts, her questions, her resistance. She's happy now. Truly happy. She's not Emma anymore. She's a better version of Emma. One who can fulfill her purpose without conflict or pain." I stared at this thing wearing my sister's face. "I hate you. I know. But hatred is a luxury you can afford because of what she sacrificed for you. What happens now? Now you live your life. You go to school. You grow up. You become whatever you choose to become. The only condition is that you never speak of what you've seen here. And if I do, then Emma's sacrifice will have been meaningless, and I will be forced to take more direct action. You'd hurt me. I would do what was necessary to protect our work. But I don't think it will come to that. You're a good brother, Jake. You won't do anything to dishonor Emma's choice." The thing in Emma's body smiled, but it was wrong. Emma's smile had been warm and genuine. This was cold and calculated. "Goodbye, Jake. Sleep well." After she left, I sat in the dark and cried. Not just for Emma, but for all of us. For my parents, who had made an impossible choice and then forgotten they'd made it. For me, who would have to live with the knowledge of what had happened but could never tell anyone. For Emma, who had sacrificed her own free will to save mine. And for everyone else who would encounter Emma in the years to come. Who would see a sweet, helpful little girl and never realize they were looking at something that had been hollowed out and refilled with alien purpose. The thing had been right about one thing: the world probably would be better because of what they did. Fewer cruel people, fewer harmful actions, fewer sources of suffering. But it would also be a world where free will could be revoked by something that considered itself wiser than humanity. Where people could be changed without consent, their personalities altered to fit someone else's vision of what was good and right. I don't know if that's a trade worth making. I don't know if Emma's sacrifice was heroic or tragic or both. All I know is that I have to live with it. I have to wake up every morning and see the thing that used to be my sister and pretend that everything is normal. I have to watch her help people and know that she's not really helping them. She's identifying them for something hungry and alien to consume. I have to live in a house where my parents love a daughter who isn't really their daughter anymore, where a creature wears my sister's face and speaks with my sister's voice but isn't my sister at all. And I have to keep quiet about it. Because if I don't, if I try to tell anyone what really happened, Emma's sacrifice will have been for nothing. So I'll keep the secret. I'll be the good brother she wanted me to be. I'll live a normal life and try to find some kind of peace with what I've witnessed. But I'll never forget. I'll never forget what Emma really was before she became what she is now. I'll never forget the choice she made or the price she paid for my freedom. And someday, when I'm older and stronger and wiser, maybe I'll find a way to honor her memory. Maybe I'll find a way to help other families who are faced with impossible choices. Or maybe I'll just live with the knowledge that sometimes love requires sacrifice. That sometimes the only way to save someone is to let them go. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if the thing in Emma's body will keep its word, or if it will eventually come for me too. But I know that Emma loved me enough to give up everything to protect me. And that's going to have to be enough. Because in a world where creatures live in our houses and we pretend they're part of the family, sometimes love is the only thing that's real, even when everything else is a lie. So that's my story. That's what happened in my house when I was 12 years old. Emma still lives at home. She's 15 now, and she's everything the thing promised she'd be: healthy, strong, helpful, perfectly behaved. She gets straight A's, volunteers at the animal shelter, and never causes any trouble. My parents are proud of her. They brag about her to their friends, talk about what a wonderful daughter they have. They have no idea that the thing they're praising isn't really their daughter at all. I moved out as soon as I turned 18. I couldn't stand living in that house anymore, couldn't stand pretending that everything was normal. I see Emma at family gatherings, and she's always pleasant and polite and completely empty. Sometimes I catch her looking at me, and for just a moment, I think I see a flicker of the real Emma underneath. But then it's gone, and I'm left wondering if I imagined it. I've never told anyone this story. Not friends, not girlfriends, not therapists. I've carried it alone for 8 years, and I'll probably carry it for the rest of my life. But I needed to write it down. I needed to record what really happened, even if no one will ever believe it. Because Emma deserves to be remembered. Not the thing that wears her face, but the real Emma. The brave little girl who sacrificed everything to save her big brother. She was the best of us. And she's gone. But her love remains. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can really hope for. The love we leave behind when we're gone. Even if we're not really gone at all. Just changed.